and see what our business is all about, see what we're expanding out here in the Quebec marketplace. So I've been up here a couple of times. The last time I was up here, I think, was in January, and I think the weather's a little different today than January. So I appreciate you having me back in the summer. But we've got so many great things that are going on internally with the company, with ACN and where we're at, and a lot of stuff that's been happening up here in Canada. We'll go through some of our expansion plans, not only globally today, but also what we're doing here in Canada. A lot of you know that we launched our Zoom Energy product. Are you guys excited about what we're doing up here? Western Canada. So as we continue to branch out from what we did down in the U.S. to cross the border and get energy up here and provide it through Zoom Energy, and to look at what we're doing with our Flash Wireless program on a global business as well. Kind of go through some of what we're doing and where we're heading with that on an international basis today too. But the leadership that's up here in Montreal, I know Matthew Lamontagne, Matthew Ambrose, you heard from a host of leaders that were up here this morning to go over how our business opportunity works. You have Senior Vice President and Circle of Champions member, Mr. James Adler, is also here today. How many people were with us last night when James did the leadership? Well, I like to take credit for that because I taught James everything that he knows. And, very hard with him. He did a great job. But no, James has been phenomenal too. So you have a great leadership team that's not only part of this event here today, but also a part of what's going on here throughout all of Canada. Matthew will be up next to kind of go over a vision of what's happening in the local market, as well as what the plans are with getting customers and a lot of things that we have on our plate. But I thought I'd maybe share with you a little bit about where we're at, what my background is, and instead of talking about everybody else, you guys mind if I talk about me for a minute? I'm my favorite topic. And but as Patricia said, I've been with the company for a very long time. Actually, since the very beginning. I'm with ACN. I'm on my 25th year with ACN right now. So I got started back in 1993. But my background, real quickly, I'm actually an engineer by trade. Like a lot of people had education, high school, college. I spent about 10 years in the engineering world. Just got frustrated at work and I wanted to make more money. Anybody here ever want to make more money? You don't raise your hand, you're lying. Well, I hope I'm broke when I grow up. I think everybody wants to make more money. We want to figure out how, what the next stage is, what the next phase is. I had no idea what this business was about. I tried a few other businesses while I was kind of going through the engineering world. My younger sister started to call me about this type of business, about network marketing back in the late 80s. And she was about 10 years younger than myself. She was a waitress at a local restaurant. And she started to call me at work, call me at home, say, come to a meeting, come to a meeting, come to a meeting. I said, what's the meeting about? She said, I can't tell you. Just come to the meeting. I go, I don't want to come to a meeting about a meeting. I'm in meetings all day. And eventually, she had called. I called my parents and I said, listen, I don't know what I told my father. I said, I don't know what my sister Cass is her name. I don't know what Cass is involved with. But whatever she's involved with, I go, she's running to these meetings, I go, she's constantly trying to get me. I go, so my dad goes, you know what, she's been calling your mother and I too, we're going down to that meeting tonight. I go, good, you get her out of there, we'll put her back to work tomorrow. And so my parents went down to the meeting, I called my dad the next day, I go, did you get her out? He goes, no, we're in and you need to go to a meeting. And I go, so that night I went to a meeting and I walked into a room, something like this, and I mean, not this big, but in a hotel, and there was a whole bunch of people, and they were running around, there was music playing, I walked in, they were screaming that they were going to be rich, and I sat down in the seat, I had no idea what was going on. So if you're here and you have no idea what's going on, welcome to the team, because that's how it works for the first 30 to 60 days. But kind of flash forward is I kind of like the idea of how the business worked. I tried a couple different companies, did well with them, but they were oriented in a couple different markets, and those companies actually ended up not doing business in the United States anymore and going out of business. And then I really thought maybe I'll never do this again. And I told my wife, that's it, I'm all done with network marketing. And 2 days later, I got a call about ACN. And here I am still talking about never doing it again, 24 years later. So, but my call came from the co-founders of the company. How many of you guys have had the opportunity to meet the co-founders of ACN? Or been to it? I know we have a lot of new people here. But we have 4 co-founders that put ACN together. And they actually stepped the company up from the ground floor and had a vision of where we're at today. But they had that vision back in 1992 as they were putting ACN together. The 4 co-founders, 2 of them gave me a call about ACN as they were putting it together, Mike and Tony Kupas. They're twin brothers. The twin brothers are out of the Michigan marketplace. And they had called me up about doing taking a look at ACN. They understood that I knew network marketing. We'd been friends for a couple of years. They were already great friends of mine. And they said, listen, would you look at ACN? We're putting the company together. It's going to be tied to residual income. It has everything to do with network marketing, all the stuff that you're good at. And I said, you know what? I said I would never do this again. So what do you want me to do? He said, listen, we just want you to come to a meeting. I go, oh my God, not the meeting thing again, you know? And I said, well, where and when? And he said, we're doing a meeting. We want you to come on. I want you to meet the other co-founders and things that we're doing and take a look at how we're going to run our business. Now, I'm from the New Jersey area, the Philadelphia area, and when they gave me a call, the company, ACN, was situated, getting started up in the Michigan marketplace. So they asked me to come up and take a look at it, but that was 900 miles away from me. So I said, when do you want me to come? You know, where's the meeting at? He said, well, Detroit, Michigan. He said, we want to talk to you on Friday. I go, Friday? I go, that's in 3 days. I told my wife I would never do this again. I don't know how I'm going to sneak out of here and end up 900 miles away from home on Friday. So I hung up the phone, and my wife said, did you tell him no? And I said, no, I'm going to fly up there Friday. I'll tell him no in person. And so I come up there because I wanted to find out what they were talking about. It sounded good over the phone. And you know how things sound, they sound great, but I wanted to find out what they were putting together, what it would look like, and I'd rather invest the time in an airline ticket and fly up and spend some time with my friends, find out what the real deal about ACN was and what they were planning on doing. And that weekend I got an explosive vision about the company from the four of them. You know, Mike and Tony Kubis, who I had known for years already, they're master marketers, master trainers. A lot of you know them and have had the opportunity at the leadership level to work with them. Tony handles everything here in the U.S. In Canada, they're the focuses that he has as they've expanded into now 25 different countries right now. Mike Kubis handles everything in the European marketplace in Australia. They've shared roles of what we're doing down in Australia. And I'll talk today a little bit about our relaunch of what we're doing down in Mexico. Would you guys like to hear about that today too a little bit? But as I listened to those guys talk, I understood what they knew about marketing and training and all the stuff that you see, all the PowerPoints, all the trainings that are all around the world. Mike and Tony had a hands-on still today on everything that goes on as the company. So not only did they have an early sight of how to put this business together, but how to actually do the trainings and formulate it. And the other two co-founders are Greg Provenzano and Robert Stefanowski. And for those of you that know the other two gentlemen, they once again, they cast a vision that weekend about what the company would be, how we would get here, what they would do. And you know, for those who don't know Robert, Robert's a very brilliant guy, and he's actually, not that everybody doesn't love Canada, but Robert has a soft spot in his heart for the whole country of Canada, as a lot of you know. I mean, to the point where he puts a lot of energy and a lot of the efforts of all of ACN gets pushed into what we're trying to do up here in this marketplace and throughout all of Canada. But Robert is one of those guys, he said, we're going to expand not only here in the U.S., Mike, and this is what he said to me 24 years ago. He said, we want to be a global venture. He loves to make things bigger. He said, we want to be, you know, international company. We want to be here. We want to be there. He said, we want to offer more services. He said, you know, the beginning of our company was with long distance. But the long distance product was the only part of the industry or the telecom industry that we could work with back then. And he said, well, that's our starting point. He said, but in the future, we want to offer a whole array of services. He said, we want to look at whatever's going to happen down the line. He said, our real power in ACN, he said, and this is what he said to me, he said, Mike, we'll make more money in the future off stuff that doesn't even exist today. And that's our plan. I go, I have no idea what you're talking about, right? Because I had no idea. He said, well, look at it, dude, look at it differently. He said, the industries are changing. He said, but people will always want to communicate. How many people agree that people always want to communicate? And he said, it doesn't matter how they communicate. It just matters that we are in a position to market whatever avenue they choose. And he said, there's going to be new avenues. And I said, well, the phone's already created. He said, well, there's different avenues that are coming out. And at the time, back in 1993, the phones that we have in our pockets today were just a vision of people back then. They were car phones. How many people remember the car phone? People say, what was a car phone? Well, the car phone was a 300-pound device that was bolted to the chassis of the car because it was too heavy to carry it around. And about 3 years later, they made it a little more small, and it weighed about 60 pounds, and they put it in a bag. And the bag sat, and the phone sat on top of like something the size of a car battery, and you wrapped it around your neck, and you had a giant phone around your neck. But he said, you know what, phones are no longer plugged into the walls. He said, so people can start to move around. He said, so don't look at what it is, look at what it will be. And you think about it today, how much do we use our cell phones and our wireless phones today? Right? Can you guys, I mean, we can't stop it. We communicate with our wireless, whether you're texting. My kids don't even talk to me anymore. I can talk to them like this, and they're looking at me, and I go, then I take out my phone and I text them, and they look down, and they go, oh, and I put it all in caps. I'm talking to you. Why are you yelling? But, you know, the realization is that, you know, the way we communicate has changed. I mean, think about here. How many of you guys have how many people here don't have a cell phone? Look at that. Relax, everybody. I'm just kidding. Doesn't have shoes. Because we get so upset to think that somebody could try and survive without a wireless phone nowadays, right? We can't stand around. I mean, how many guys sleep at night? What sleeps closer to you, your spouse or your phone? Phone. When you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you do? Your phone, right? I have to see it. I think somebody might have tried to get a hold of me, right? And we are so constantly connected to the devices, and Robert saw that back then. And Robert saw all the stuff that was going to happen, all the changes that would happen in the field. And you look today, and I know right up now, wireless is a very big industry up here in Canada, and we've expanded on what we can do up here in Canada so far. But we've done a lot of stuff with flash wireless throughout the United States right now. We're going to be doing a lot more with flash wireless on an international level, so you guys can position yourselves for whatever's going to happen down the road. But there's, you know, it's an exciting field to be in. But once again, first you have to be with people that have the vision and the fortitude to go through everything it took to get to where we're at right now. Down in the U.S., we ride on the 3 largest networks throughout the entire country. No other company out there, including the 3 biggest wireless networks that we have, we're branded across every network. We have the largest footprint of any wireless provider in the United States right now. So we've got opportunities with more customers and more base and more plants in the flash wireless division. And then we're taking the flash wireless on an international level. So it's branded down there, it'll be branded worldwide, and that's a big goal for the company, a big goal for us. So, you know, keep an eye on that. And obviously, Robert also pushed into the energy markets and all the different things that we did in the States, and branching into Zoom Energy, and then pushed us up here. You guys, as I mentioned earlier, excited about Zoom Energy coming into the Canadian marketplace. You know, so we're going to continue that push, and Robert's going to continue to do that, continue our international expansion. And then the other co-founder is Mr. Greg Provenzano. Now, how many people here have had the opportunity? I know Greg was up here a few months ago, right, Mr. Provenzano? How many of you have had the chance to listen to Mr. Provenzano, the president, speak? So the thing about Greg, it doesn't matter whether you're sitting down here by yourself and he's talking to you, or whether Greg's talking to the whole room, or 20,000 people, or 1,000 people, or 500 people. It always sounds like whenever you're talking to Greg, you constantly think he's only talking to you. And I don't know how he does it, but you could sit in the audience and you could be sweating and people all over you, and suddenly Greg comes up and he starts talking and you just sit there and go, wow, he's talking right to me. And no matter what he says, no matter how he talks, and he's not trying to do it, it's just the way that he is. He's the moral, ethical compass of ACN. He does things right. He has something about him that constantly puts him in the right direction. He has true values, and a very religious man in the way that he operates his business, and he keeps those factors factored into not only his life, but how business is run. He doesn't believe in good, he believes in good and bad, and the company should only operate in the good zone. He doesn't think the company should operate in the middle. He said there's no room in the middle, because if it's somewhere in the middle, it's got to be not good for somebody. And he said we're going to operate on 3 things, Mike. We're going to operate where it's good for the customer, it's got to be good for the IDOs in the business, and it's got to be good for the company. Because if it's not good for those 3 things, there's no sense in us incorporating it into what we want to do at ACN. He said, so it's always got to be able to help all 3 of those things. If it doesn't help, if it only helps 2 of those things, if it's only good for the company, but it's not good for the IDOs or the customers, we're not going to do it. Does it make sense? Yeah. And he's wrote his whole business like that forever. And that's really how the company kind of got formulated, with that structure in play. But Greg is also big into personal development, as a lot of you know. He constantly wants to improve people, make people better, allow people to become more than when they entered into the ACN world. And he said, Mike, what we want to create is a great company, but in order to do that, we want to do it by creating great people. And he said, so we need to take a person and make a better person, and if we can make a better person, we can make a better company. So he said, we'll do it from the ground floor up. We'll do it with 5 people, 10 people, and then 20 people. And he said, then it'll get bigger and bigger, and we'll show you how, and we're going to show people how to do it. We want them to be better through all aspects of their life, not just make them better off financially, but we're going to make them a better person all the way around. So they have values, and they understand the value of being in business, they understand the value of money, and he has constantly done that. We have success on demand, success principles that are built and scripted throughout all of the ACN world because of how Greg has operated the company. And the other thing Greg has is a way of painting a vision, like very few people can do. But Greg sat down with me 24 years ago in a very small office in Detroit, Michigan. And in Detroit, Michigan, he started to talk about how big ACN would be. And he said, you know what, Mike? He said, we are now going through expansion plans. Now the company, I just met Greg, the company was just getting up and running. I had no idea who Greg was, though. But as Greg sat at this little rickety desk in this little tiny office, he started to talk to me about a global empire. He said, Mike, 68 countries are going through deregulation right now. ACN is positioned in the middle of a worldwide boom and worldwide growth in the telecommunications world. We're going to be going international, we're going to be all over. And as I was sitting there talking to Greg, he started to talk how big the industry was, and $600 billion was up for grabs, and what ACN was going to do, what we were going to accomplish. As I was talking to him, there was a map on the wall behind him. Did you ever see those laminated, like a map of the North America? So the North American map was behind him. And on the map, in the map, there was one little tiny pin in Detroit, Michigan. Like it had a little red flag on it. And as Greg was getting all excited, he talked about the expansion. He goes, not only here in the United States, we'll be up in Canada, then we'll go to Europe, and 68 countries will be a part of it. I go, Greg, this is so exciting. I go, I have no idea, just, how big, ACN is. I go, you're just meeting you for the very first time. I said, and you moved your head as we were talking. I see the map behind you, and I see one little pin in the map. Detroit, Michigan. He turns around, he looks at the pin, he goes, Detroit, Michigan, world headquarters. And I go, well, where else are you? And he said, well, where are you from? And I said, well, I'm from the Philadelphia area. He said, well, when are you leaving? And I said, I'm leaving tomorrow. He reached down, he opened the drawer, he pulled up one more pin, he goes, tomorrow, we'll be in Philadelphia. That was the beginning of international expansion, as we know. But you know what? Everything that he did talk about from that one pin, I remember going back and going, oh my God, I'm one of the pins. I got to put a pin in Philadelphia, I got to go back and go to work. And I started to work the business, and in '93, I became the first regional vice president in the company in 1994. So I've been with the company, and as Patricia mentioned, about 5-6 years ago, after a long run and having an international business with ACN, the company asked me to come inside and give them a hand with more plans about expansion, a lot of stuff they were doing with the energy markets, and continued the worldwide expansion. So if I talk a little bit, that's kind of passed up to where we're at a little bit for you. We've been up here in Canada, probably the last 10 years since this whole group has really taken off, this particular segment of the area. Canada got launched because of what you guys have done here in the Montreal marketplace. This is where the entire country took off maybe about 8 to 10 years ago. So I'll go through a little bit about what we're doing, not only continue to do here, but we take a look at where the company's at worldwide right now, okay? So obviously, we're on a tour right now. Our next big stop will be the Philadelphia Convention. You're going to hear a lot about that today, the international events and things that we're doing. And I'll share with you a little bit about some of the insights that I know about the convention. Obviously, the four of us are here today, so this is just a roadmap. A lot of people, just for the leaders, and if you're brand new, we have a new magazine that's out. This really helps you with your recruiting and customer development, and people wanting to know who ACN is and what it's about. We've got timelines, we've got a whole bunch of information into there. All the leaders are recognized in here, the Circle of Champions members. But there's 80 pages all about ACN, the company, the lifestyle. So as you're out at meetings and talking to people, this is a great tool to have in your back pocket to kind of hand out. I shouldn't say back pocket, but in your car with you. Now I want to talk a little bit about Zoom, because down in Zoom Energy, and the energy market is so huge that we're excited about what we've done throughout the United States with it. In just a couple of years, less than 5 years, we were recognized in Inc. magazine as the number 13. Zoom Energy ranks number 1 as the number 1 energy company, and number 13 is the largest, most fastest growing privately held company in all of North America. So number 1 in the energy and number 13 in the whole country. Top 500. So to give some ideas of what we were able to accomplish down in the US, and then obviously we just launched into what we're doing here. And what we're doing here, I'm going to go back one. So what we're doing here, and then I'll play a short video on it, but we've got electric out there. We're working with the residential and small business services out in the Alberta marketplaces. This is our first stop with Zoom Energy in Canada. So I'm going to do a little introduction video, which you get some help with real quick, just to give you some insight as to what we're doing in Western Canada and some things you'll be able to look forward to through different parts of Canada over the upcoming times that we'll be expanding the Zoom footprint here. Again, we just want to, obviously we're doing energy throughout Canada in different markets. I know people are from the Toronto marketplace, that whole area where we have energy right now. This is our introduction with our Zoom product up here right now. So that'll be the thing that we're able to control a whole lot more of, what we can do with it, where the expansion plans will go. Once again, it will come down to what markets are deregulated, what we can do as a company, and then continue to push Zoom throughout Canada. So you guys be excited about that? Yeah. All right. Well, we look forward to getting Montreal more excited in the future about it, but we just want to let you know that we're working on it and we're going to keep rolling through it. For a lot of people in Canada, we've been asking up here is for the companion app. So the companion app is now available. This is for our digital phone service. This simply is for people that have home phone service and want to take it on your phones with you. So we know up here in Canada, it's a very big marketplace for a lot of people to have an app on their phone to not use their minutes, where you can use the home minutes for free. So this way you can incorporate your home phone. If you get your home phone, you're going to get new and existing customers, which now includes 2 companion apps. So whether it's for yourself, for your spouse, for your children, whatever it is, you can download the app, and all your minutes and all your calls and international calls can roll right through your minutes onto your international plan that you'll have with your home phone service already. Okay, so it's a great add-on, especially up here in Canada. So let's talk a little bit about our global expansion and our plans, because I know a lot of people have been excited about this since we had announced it. Our first plan was to continue our expansion in the Asian marketplace. In Asia, Danny Bay has done a great job with us over in the Korean marketplace. We just started to enroll people in what we're doing, the vision of expanding into Japan. So this month we actually rolled into Japan just earlier this week, August 2nd. We gave it our kickoff, and we're kind of in a pre-launch mode over there right now. We're actually beginning our first with a lot of services through the product line, and we're going to do similar over in Japan as to what we're doing in Korea, which is a hybrid of both products and services in the future. So that's where we're at in Korea. It's done a great footprint. That's what works best in the Asian marketplace, and that marketplace will be kicked off with what we're doing with our product line, and then we're going to roll into the energy and a few other services throughout the Japanese market. So that's very exciting. The customer enrollment begins, products will begin to ship August 9th, customer care opens. Mr. Greg Provenzano, our president, will be doing a 3-city expansion tour with Danny Bay, and that'll go from August 20th to August 23rd. All the details we put on Facebook. They have their own Facebook page already up and running as well. So any of you that have any contacts that are in the Asian marketplace or in Japan or in Korea, this is a great opportunity for you to get on the ground floor of what we're doing in that marketplace. And then the evolution of ACN is going to continue down in Mexico right now. We're doing a major relaunch of the entire country and a rebranding of what we're doing. Our plans right now are to enroll something that has never been done in Mexico before. What we're going to be doing, and you're going to actually have a meeting up here. Our VP, Mr. Larry Raskin, will be up here next week, so you guys should be excited. I think next weekend he'll be up here, and he's going to do a full Latin expansion meeting for the Montreal area to give you some insight, and not only some insight on how to get involved in it, how you can start to participate in it. So I want to give you some insight a little bit about what we're doing right now. Is we're planning on going into the wireless division down in Mexico. We will be the only provider, the only direct sales, the only networking company and the first company to ever offer a service in the country of Mexico. So they are going absolutely ballistic right now, waiting for what we're doing. A lot of you know that we launched Mexico a while back. We were waiting for when we could get it launched into the service arena. This is our opportunity to relaunch it, and we'll be the first company to ever launch it with a wireless division down there. So the opportunity, there are 128 million people are in Mexico, 106 million mobile subscribers right now. There's 2 major providers down there. We're going to be one of the other providers. We're going to be able to outprice everybody else that's down there. So it's a tremendous opportunity. The Advantage ACN will be the first ever direct selling company to market essential services in Mexico. So does anybody here know anybody in Mexico? All right, so we're going to have a huge meeting that's going to come up here. Matthew and Matthew will both talk about it a little bit later today, about what Mr. Raskin is going to be doing up here. I was working with Larry down in Charlotte just a couple of days ago, and we sat down and went through the entire Mexico rollout plan, and it's unbelievable what we have in store for everybody. So once again, the services will start with a prepaid mobile service. We'll start with a bring your own device type of opportunity. We'll have a strategic partnership with one of the largest telecommunication providers in Mexico and Latin America, and the pre-launch will be September 1st. So we'll start with the New Mexico IBO enrollments will begin on September 1st, and we'll have an official customer launch of the new service in mid-October. So for those of you that want to find out more about this and more about what we're doing, once again, we'll have Mr. Raskin will be up here next week. He's going to do a follow-up visit, and his whole visit will be based around everything that we're doing in the marketplace. He'll go over the compensation, a lot of the different aspects of how our business works, and how you can take advantage of it from here. And for those of you that have any friends or family that want to help us participate, or you want to be a part of it, that would be the opportunity where we'll have a full, I believe, Spanish meeting happening up here, and you can bring your people to that particular event next week. All right, now I'm going to go over, we just launched a new bonus, and this is for the month of August. How many of you guys have seen the new bonus? All right, so we were talking this week, and a lot of us are going to be on tour, meaning I was going to be stopping up here in Canada for a couple of days. I'll be here also being Monday night, I'll be out in Quebec City to go over some of the things that we're doing up there. But we also wanted to go, Mr. Provenzano, Greg is down in the New York marketplace, but we wanted to get out there and really talk a little bit more about what we're doing. So we just actually enhanced the August bonus yesterday before we actually got on the plane. And the enhancement was actually for brand new people to get involved. Anybody who got involved, and even if you got involved in August, this will affect you because you're going to be part of the new bonus that we put in. So the new bonus is new IBOs with the start date between August 1st and August 1st and August 31st can receive up to $500 or more. So we got a new bonus for up to $400, and then we have an ETL bonus. So this was an add-on right now. So we added this yesterday for another $1,000 for anybody that comes on board in the month of August. We'll have an opportunity to get an extra $1,000 if they become an ETL in their first 60 days. You guys like the sound of that? So it's a good opportunity to talk to your friends, your family, your potential partners, and it's also a great opportunity to go back to the people that already got started with us and let them know what's in store for them. All right, so this bonus is structured a little bit differently. You go ETL in your first 60 days. You need 75 customer points to do that, and in order to qualify for the bonus, you need to situate your business where you have at least 2 ETT legs, or 2 organizations of executive team trainers. So you'll find out a little bit more about that as the day goes on. But to go out and create 2 ETTs in your first 60 days, that means you become an ETT yourself. Create 2 ETTs, and your total bonus could be up to $1,500 within your first 30 or 60 days in business with us, okay? So it's very exciting. We've got a lot of stuff that's happening, obviously, with Vivid and ADT up here as well. Acquire 4 customers for 10 points for an extra $100. And then how many of you guys have already been excited about what we're doing with our extension of our cash bonus, right? We give the ETTs, the ETLs more money, but anything we put out the lower level flushes all the way up through everybody. So all the bonuses were increased across the board for anybody that's getting involved, including the newest person who becomes an executive team trainer. Their bonuses for helping new people get started went from $30 up to $100 for a new qualified team trainer that comes into their business and gets qualified in their first 30 or 60 days. So it's a great opportunity to really roll through and how the business works, and really an opportunity for ETTs and ETLs to earn a lot more money in the month of August as well. So work with your uplines on how these bonuses work and how it'll affect yourselves, all right? Now, one of the things I'm going to talk about is Philadelphia, and the convention. So a lot of you guys have been hearing about the road to Philly, as I opened up here today, and a lot of stuff that we're doing about Philadelphia. And probably if you were with James last night, he talked about Philadelphia. James got his start in Philadelphia. I got my start in the Philadelphia area. So we're excited that we're actually hosting it down there because, there's been a lot of hoopla just around the city of Philadelphia, period. It's a really warm market for, to our hearts for all of ACN. And we haven't done an event there in, I think, more than 10 years. So to do a convention there is going to be an exciting time. But on top of that, we thought what can we do to make it even better? And to make it even better, we brought back one of our legends who's been working in the European marketplace. It's someone that we've all had the chance at the upper levels of the company to work with in the early phases of everybody's business. George has been with ACN, I think, since 1998. I've been blessed to have him part of my organization since that particular time, and to see what him and his partner at the time came in and did, him and Art Napolitano, they opened up all of Europe for us. They opened up more than 18 or 20 countries for ACN. George has been around the network marketing industry and the direct sales industry since around 1971. So, he definitely has a worldwide business. He's a world-class speaker. He's one of the most sought-after speakers, not only in ACN, but outside of ACN. He's been picked up for many, many years for his books, his motivation, the trainings, the stuff that he has brings to the table. So he has not spoken to our organization, I think, in close to 5 years at a training level or more here in the North American marketplace. So we made a couple of phone calls. They asked George that not only is he continuing to help us in Europe, but he said he would actually come to the Philadelphia event. I'm going to play a short clip for a lot of you that may not know who George is, but I can tell you one thing. You'll hear more about George today, too. You're going to hear a lot about what he has to offer. But George will be talking at a leadership event for us on Friday mornings for team coordinators and above. Anybody who qualifies for those positions will be there. On top of that, if you have 75 minimum customer points, personal points yourself, you'll be able to qualify to come to that particular leadership event. And George will give you the insights of what it takes to get to the next level for your business. And then he's also going to share probably an hour and a half message from the stage over the course of the weekend to the general session of how to advance and motivate your business. But I'm going to play a short clip and you kind of get a little feel for George real quick as we get towards the wrap of what we're going to talk about in Philadelphia. So I think I can roll that from here. George has spoken at over the years in North America, and I can tell you one thing is the effect that he has on people is overwhelming. A lot of you know that a lot of times we bring in professional speakers and they spend, at a lot of our international conventions, they spend time with us over the course of the weekend. But they're motivational and inspirational speakers and guided speakers and leadership speakers, but they have never worked inside of ACN. But to take all the people that are in that field and then combine it into somebody who came in here and rose up, George was the very first senior vice president in our entire company as well. On top of that, he's built a huge organization, so he understands different aspects of not only the world of motivation and inspiration and leadership training, but he knows exactly how to apply it to our particular business model, our global expansion model. So I can promise you one thing, you'll hear a lot more about George, and for those, how many people are already going to Philadelphia? That's unbelievable. Congratulations. Well, I can tell you one thing. You'll be down there. You'll be so happy you made it. If all you caught over the course of the weekend was George Zelicki, you'll get enough to get out of there and springboard your life. But let's see. So once again, I'll be speaking actually in Quebec this particular Monday, and that'll be the wrap up of what we're doing. Thank you for being here. So Matthew LaMontagne will be up there with myself, and Audric is here, Hartman, who was up on stage here this morning as well. But all this information, once again, is on Facebook. We'll continue to expand our business. But I'll wrap up real quickly with, we're talking about George in Philadelphia and what you should be, guys. I'm just not going to play that video again, but the Philadelphia convention, like I said, this will be the most important event that you'll have an opportunity to get from and be a part of. I'll be down there in Philadelphia with the co-founders, obviously. I'm from that marketplace. We'll be excited. It's probably be the biggest event that we've had all year. On top of having George, we'll have 14 to 15 of the best senior vice presidents and regional vice presidents. Simon Aboud, Matthew LaMontagne, and Matthew Ambrose, who you're here from today, they're all going to be speaking on stage over the course of the weekend from the amount of production that's been happening out of the Canada marketplace. So you're going to hear from the best of the best over the course of the 3-day weekend. I know about the events because I've been using the events since I got started. The one thing that Greg said to me 25 years ago when I was leaving, 24 years ago, that little office in Detroit, Michigan, after we put the pin in the map and I said goodbye, I said, listen, Greg, I heard a lot about the company and a lot about your plans, but what are your next steps? I go, I don't know how to do the business. I don't know the training. What is the training going to be all about? When are you going to do a training? And he said, you know what, Mike, we're going to do a training in 6 weeks. And we're going to do the training. I said, well, where's it going to be? He said, back here in Detroit. And I said, you know what, Greg, I said, I'll be back in 6 weeks. I said, I don't understand everything. I love what you guys are putting together, but I want to figure out how to get the customers, how to get paid, and how all this works. And I went back, and I started my business all by myself. I flew 900 miles away, or whatever it was, back to Philadelphia. I landed and planted my flag. I put a map up in my bedroom office, and I put a pin in the map for Philadelphia, and we started to build the business. And I told my wife, I said, listen, I'm going back up there in 6 weeks. They're going to have a training for the weekend. I'm going to spend more time with Greg and the other guys, figure out what their plans are. And I said, but they're going to spend 3 days on, how this business works. I said, so I know enough to get it started, but I don't know enough how to make it work. I said, fine. So the next day, it was a Sunday night when I had flown home. Monday morning, I was having coffee with her. I picked up the phone and I called a local bus company. And I said, I'm going to make my travel arrangements to go back to Detroit. And I called the bus company up and I said, I need to go from the Philadelphia area to Detroit, Michigan. And I gave them the dates, 6 weeks out. We'll leave on a Friday, we'll come back on a Sunday. And I said, I'll need 3 buses. And I took out my credit card and I gave the dates and I said, I'll need 3 buses. And I took out my credit card and I paid for the 3 buses over the phone. And I hung up the phone. And my wife goes, what did you just do? I said, well, I made my arrangements to go back to Detroit. And she said, well, you just paid for 3 buses. And I said, I know. She said, well, who are the buses for? And I said, they're for my team. And she said, well, who's on your team? And I said, nobody. And she said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm going back, but I'm not going alone. And I said, you know what? One thing I do know, I don't know anything about this business. I said, so my next 6 weeks, I don't care if I make a penny at ACN, because I don't know how to make money with it anyway. I'm going to get customers, I know enough about how to get it started, but I don't know how to build a business. I said, what I'm going to do for the next 6 weeks, and I have a full-time career going. I said, I have one goal of mine, and that's to fill those 3 buses up with people that have never heard about ACN, and that's nobody. Nobody I know around here has ever heard of it. I'm the only person. And I said, I'm going to spend the next 6 weeks, and I'm going to put people on those buses. She's like, you're crazy. I go, that's it. I go, but if I go up there and learn this by myself, then I got to come back and start all over again. But I said, if I don't have to learn this, if I can learn this by myself with a bunch of people, it's going to be a lot easier to come back and work. So the next 6 weeks, I went to work every day. I called people at 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. Anything, people always answer the phone for some reason in the morning. So I always called people really, really early. Everything was an emergency. I got to see you, it's an emergency. And they go, well, you got to stop waking me up. I go, well, I'm going to call you back tomorrow if you don't help me out today. And, all I did is talk to people till 2 in the morning. I talked to people at my lunch, I talked to people after dinner, I talked to people throughout the night, and it was $55, 55 US, to go round trip from Philadelphia to the Michigan on the bus. And it was $499, as we know, the cost to get involved in ACN. I said, so you can pay the $499 to get in, but you have to get a bus ticket. And if you don't get the bus ticket, keep the $499 because I don't know how to teach you how to do the business. And I said, some people said, well, I don't have the $499, but I have the $55. I go, great, take the $55, you get on the bus. And if you see value in what we're doing when you get back, then you can become part of the business. And that's all I did for 6 weeks, talked about how to do it. And during those 6 weeks, 2 things happened for me. Number 1, in 6 weeks, I filled up all 3 buses with 153 people that were going with me, right? Also in those 6 weeks, we got over 1,000 customers that came into the business. Because we were generating excitement, and I became a team coordinator in 6 weeks. It was over 1,000 customers in the business. But on the bus ride up, I had 3 busloads of fairly angry people, like, why are we going to Detroit, and who are you, right? Number 1. Number 2 is, I didn't know if these guys, I'm thinking I'm on the way up there, I go, my God, I hope these guys know how to train, because I have really been building them up. And, but you know what? When the 153 people went up, we were scared, we were nervous, we got up to Detroit, but you know what? The co-founders delivered like nothing else. They did the entire training over the course of the weekend. A to Z, how to get the compensation, how to get customers, how to train, how to do home meetings, how to make presentations, how the language, everything you needed to know. So on the way back, instead of 153 scared people, I had 153 warriors that were on the bus on the way back. I had 153 people that wanted to go to work. People that really knew how to get customers, over 150 people that really knew how the compensation plan worked, how and why to have a home meeting, how to do a business presentation, how a business presentation works, how to open up new markets, how to expand outside of the area, how to get into new cities, how to get into new marketplaces. Everything that the company wanted to do, I had over 150 people that wanted to do it with them now. And when we came back to Philadelphia, that's when my business exploded back then. And people would say to me, was that the turning point for your business? I go, that was probably the point where things started to really make sense for everybody. I go, but probably the biggest point was when I made that one decision to call the bus company to get the 3 buses is when my business changed. Because you know what? In life, in business, and in this business, you know, the bigger the commitment, the bigger the paycheck. But see, most people are so used to trying to get, if you give me a bigger paycheck, I'll give you a bigger commitment. But see, this business and business doesn't work like that. You've got to make the commitment first. So your commitment first, my commitment was I'm going to the training. My other commitment was I ain't going alone. And I started to bring people to every event. I've used the events for the last 20 years. You'll hear more about the event today a little bit. I just want to give you some insight as to my running of the company as well. So I have never missed one of their events. They run 4 international events per year, and I've never missed one in the last 24 years. So, you know, no matter what happens, I make sure that I position everything around whatever could happen, even if it's an emergency. I make sure that I go to the event, or I'm at most of the event, or at some portion of the event, if not the whole thing. So I can promise you, we're going to deliver like we've never delivered. We've got so much new stuff that we have coming out too. Wait to see what we have to deliver with our back office and the integration of our entire digital format that we've been talking about. The digital transformation of ACN is all underway. We're going to explode with everything that we have going on there at the Philly event too. So I'm looking forward to all that. I'm looking forward to spending time with each one of you. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody Monday night in Quebec, for Quebec City, for those of you that are up there. With that, I'm just going to wrap up. So I want to thank all of Montreal for having me here today and for being a part of what we're doing. And I'm just going to bring up the next speaker real quick. This gentleman I've had the chance also to work with for the last, probably 8 to 10 years as well. He's been a consistent Circle of Champions member, one of the top performers worldwide for the company, homegrown out of this marketplace here in Montreal, has worked hand in hand with Simon Aboud, along with a lot of the other leadership here. But on top of becoming a great leader, the thing that we recognize most for a great leader is not only how much of a great leadership skills they have, but how many great leaders that they actually develop underneath them as well. And this gentleman has leaders on top of leaders on top of layers of leaders throughout the Canadian, the U.S., and the worldwide marketplace that we have. He's respected on a million different levels, but I think the personal level is probably where he's the most respected. Not only does he have a tremendous business and beautiful cars and a beautiful house and a beautiful wife and family, right? But he's actually a tremendous family man. He's a tremendous person that gives back. He gives back to the company. He helps with ideas. He helps with things that aren't only good for him. He looks and says, what's good for the company as a whole? And he's constantly helped the company grow as a company together. He's been one of the most insightful people. He's a very humble person when it comes to how to build a business and what comes first. And his life has always been family first. And family first and family matters, and he has taken that and he's controlled it, and he actually not only has helped his family, his personal family, his mother and his sister, and his entire family, but on top of that, he looks at all of the Canadian marketplace, and everybody that's in his group is part of his family too. So I'm happy to call him a friend, and so are the co-founders with the respect that he deserves, that he has earned, and many, many times over. But for a young gentleman to have accomplished this much stuff, we're very excited about not only him, but the leaders that he's created as too. He's going to come out here and do an overview of some of the things about how to get customers, the things you need to know about this marketplace. So thanks for being here. Let's give a warm welcome to Senior Vice President, Circle of Champions member, Mr. Matthew Long.